Mum and Dad was doing the same thing I'm doing now, and I'm turning 67 soon, so I just want to show you how long our people have been fighting issues like this. And when you talk about, I was listening about guys talking about trees and that, this is my own opinion. You might grow trees back in a paddock, but to me they still don't look as good as the old trees. And you get the big red gum trees, 400 or 500 years old. You can't plant them back, because none of us are going to live that long. And then you come to a Christmas tree. Now, a Christmas tree is sacred to our people, because back in the old days, that's where they buried people, next to them. And when we talk with the mining companies and that, we try and tell them that we don't want these trees destroyed, knocked down or anything like that, because mining companies will tell us that that's the only thing they can't grow back is a Christmas tree, and which is a load of rubbish, because you go to Kings Park, they got all the seeds and everything for Christmas trees to be grown. And the other thing about Christmas trees is that they're in the southwest of Western Australia, which is what I said about our Noongar Nation country. But when you look at a Christmas tree, it's one of the prettiest flowering trees you can get. And our people back in the old days, as soon as the tree starts to turn a little bit, they would head towards the coast. And then at Christmas time, that's when all the fish would come in close, and they'd spend time there, catching all their fish they need, and then they'd wander back again. But when we go and do surveys, we get anthropologists always asking us, where did our people live? Well, you can't get it through their heads that they lived anywhere, wherever they wanted to live. And like Dad was a shepherd, what you call a shepherd, bringing stock from Dongra all the way down to Perth. And they would walk all the way through Dundarrigan, all the way down. They would have goats with bells on around the sheep, and then at night they would light fires up and do, because there was a lot of dingoes out that way at the time. And so when those guys got down there, then they walked all the way back and they camped all the way along in that Dundarrigan area. But you'll find the Christmas tree probably about the only tree that will survive a bushfire, because you get the roots of a Christmas tree and break it in half, it's full of water. And the other thing with a Christmas tree is that all of us, doesn't matter what colour we are, we all celebrate Christmas. And these trees are called Christmas trees. So I can't understand why we're all not protecting them, even on farms and that. You might have a lot of new ones growing, but the ones out on farms, I'd like to see little fences put around them, because the sheep do ring bark them and all that. And so that's one of the things, and I say that in meetings, I say it to the mining companies. And before I get on to this other stuff, someone mentioned about the Bindoon bypass. Well, we do surveys for main roads on that. They're going to cross over 3 big floodways. And if you know Wannamal and you go through Wannamal and you come to with a 90 k's speed limit, then you can go up to 110. If you look right, you'll see all that water laying in that area there. Well, they want to put that Bindoon bypass through there. So we're going to bring them back to our meeting and have another go at them to change that, because we don't want that. It belongs to the farmers that live there, but those floodways and that belong to us. And so we're going to bring them back, and hopefully, because we got them to change their plans before. So those 3 big floodways, I asked the guy, and he was only an engineer since 2004 or 5 or whatever it was. The 2 girls who were with him, they were in their late 20s. They should have been models instead of working for main roads, because they didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Because I suggested to them about the minutiae piece of road they've done south of the lights. I said, what you need there is to put gravel over that road, 4 or 5 inches of gravel, and you spread cement all over it. Then you get a Bomac coming. The Bomac's like what's name, just digs all the bitumen up. You can't even see the bitumen, and mixes all the gravel and cement in. It's got all the water that sprays in, and then, like me and my brother, we've done 5.5 k's with a grader, and you've got to get that road level and rollers your job very quickly, just before that cement sets, because you can't have rollers on top of it after it starts setting. And I said that would be the perfect thing to do that road up properly. She didn't even know what that meant. So that's the trouble we have with these people. And with talking about the environment and all that stuff, I wasn't going to name these people, but I don't see why I shouldn't do, because they're not listening to us. This is the Victoria Plains Shire. That little reserve there is very important to our people, but unfortunately it's been given to them in earlier than 2020. And what I'm trying to do there is to bring all this back to our table, because back then there was no Aboriginal departments, there was no like CALM back in them days, and because CALM's changed their names that many times and they haven't proved themselves to me anyway. Because all they do is just handball it around to different people, and so we want to get that reserve back, because our people lived in it and they followed the river along, and back then the water was fresh and there was fish in it. They would camp there to catch the old steam train back to Perth. It would only come up to Magumba because it wasn't able to go across the bridge, because that Magumba bridge there is, at that time, was made of wood. And so this is a picture of where a bushfire went through. And up the top here is where the fire went through. And a guy that lives on a farm with a truck business was inside the reserve, and he said the wind was from the southwest pushing the fire out of the reserve. All these marks there are what's known as where the loaders went and made fire breaks. Now, they went all over where the black cockies eat. And up here, they went through the Moora River, which is a heritage site to us, and I've driven graders and loaders and that. And I said to the Shire, because we had them at our meeting not long ago, it would have taken me 10 minutes to drive around over the bridge and back over there. And the Shire President said they had to get across the other side quickly. I said making that road there would have taken them half an hour easy to do that. And they don't really care about the reserve. They all they want to do is clear it for like a rodeo. And that's what these people want to clear. Just to park their cars on, horse floats on. Now on the Shire grader, when I was on the Moora Shire grader, between the yellow hockey sticks, if I went between them and I damaged anything that was between those two hockey sticks, I would get a fine, not the Shire. And some of the stuff between those hockey sticks, I was at the time, then it was called CALM, I couldn't even see what they were looking at after, because some of the stuff just looked like cooch. And you put this against that, and yet that's about 50 something hectares in there. The Shire's only got about 10 or 9% bush left in the whole Shire. And I told them that at their last meeting, is not that we want to stop the people from having their rodeo, but people who are in it have got a farm about 5 minutes down the road, a perfect spot they could have it. And this is only a New Year's event where they want to park all their cars, and that's why they want to clear it. And right next to their yards is the black cockie's nest, we've rang up about that over and over, and got no answers, no help. We put in nests, for the black cockies. We got ordered to take them down, and that really hurt us and hurt the guy called Wally who does all the nest stuff around this area. And like I said, this is one of the best areas that I was told to for breeding the black cockies back again because of their numbers and that. And this is the rubbish tip, which is right on the bank of the Moore River. Now, just say, for instance, somebody threw a chemical drum in there with a bit left in it. It could go down to the Moore River, which is the stolen generation place, where the rabbit-proof fence is made from. There's still fish and turtles in that river there. That river never ever dries up. It's always got water in it. And we have a hard time trying to prove to them about getting rid of that rubbish tip. And it shouldn't even be on the bank of the river. And now they're talking about making it a recycle last name, but at the moment we're going to get stuck right into them about that. And that's some of the stuff there that's me walking around in there that they want to clear. They promised us that there's going to be no trees in that knockdown, just bush. But I've got photos of that trees, probably nearly as round as this board here, that have been knocked down. And in that fire there, they've pushed big heaps of bush and trees into the area where there's green bush and green trees. Behind where they come from is where the fire was, and it's all dead. Now, anybody with a bit of sense would have pushed it in there and left it. And like I said, that I know how to drive loaders and graders from being on the Shire and that. And that's a photo was taken of one of the little birds in that nest right next to where they've got their yards and that. Now, apparently they're having more events like roping and all this kind of stuff down there, so those birds are getting tormented, whatever you want to say, more than this 1 year event. And so that's one of the things that, because I've got everything written down as well, letters from people from down there, and this is, I don't know whether you people have heard what our people call the 6 seasons. Well, right on the top of the 6 seasons is the black cocky to our people. So that's why I got involved with the Carnaby Cocky group. And it's probably the best group I've ever been on because there's no arguments, no nothing. All we're doing is saving the birds. But to go to other meetings, someone will say, "Oh, you're wrong about that." Well, I went to a stolen generation seminar in Kalgoorlie, and my mate Mervyn was next to me, and the guy who ran the place said, before we start the meeting, I want to just say to you, he said to Colin, if Mervyn says something, you are not allowed to say, "Oh, Mervyn, I disagree with you." He said, "Because you're not allowed to." He said, "Who gives you the right to do that?" He said, "Mervyn will say what he wants to say, you say what you want to say, we will decide at the end of the day who's right and who's wrong." I used that at some of our meetings, because out at Luca there's one woman there, she tries to cut you off all the time, but I get stuck into her, and I said to this girl that I don't want her at our meeting anymore. And even though she's one of the big bosses out there, but we've got our rights with our 4 people who sit down and talk with them, and our job's just as important as them trying to mine the ground and all that and getting their minerals out. And we've got a creek out there called Minninew Lake, Creek I mean. It's probably the biggest sacred site, woman's site, in Ute country. Our women's have been probably 3 or 4 times on a survey out there, and those surveys, it cost the anthropologist 30 grand at least every time they do it. And they want to divert that creek around a pit. If I was fit enough, I could run and jump over the creek. And they're telling us that under the creek is the richest minerals. And I said, well, to divert that creek all the way around, it costs you more than what the minerals coming out of that creek. But all that is, they want the pit to be in, you know, like they don't want to cut in half, and they want to operate it as just one. So that's one of the things that we do, is trying to protect the rivers, the creeks. A lot of the environmental things that that's what we done years ago. With it's got the Southwest Aboriginal Land and Sea Council, with our people when they go out and do things like that. And people think that they might see a lot of Aboriginal people sitting around town and we're not involved in nothing. But like I said, there's nearly 20 of us on this working party, and we've got to travel to Perth every time we have a meeting. And that's near the Pinnacles. And there is a story to that, which an old guy told us, that it's the people that are buried there, that's all their fingers are stuck up through the dirt. And he'll swear by that story. So we go on that story because everybody, you know, old people have all got their rights to tell their own story. And like I said, I can't tell somebody that their story is not right and mine is right and all this kind of stuff. That's a little bit of bush there. Now the Carnaby cockies eat all that. They want all that cleared. There'd probably be, I don't know, up to about 3 or 4 acres in that area they want to clear. Now, when they cleared the first section, they've done it without a permit. Now, this is the silliest thing that I can't work out. They can get a permit now to rectify that first clearing. So I said, if I go into a shop and stole something, went outside and the police saw me, and I said, well, if I put it back, you can't have me up for stealing. That'd be exactly the same as what those mob are doing. And like I said, and on the football oval, got a guy, whether he's still here, not Jimmy Kelly. No, he must be gone. Well, he played football on there with the Aboriginal guys. So there was, you know, and one of the people playing football on that oval. So it's a sacred place, you know, to all of us. So that's the, like, even with, we've got a Luca, and I still like to call them Thai West, but Tronics is their new name. They're another sand mine. We get on quite well with them, but Luca, we're having a bit of a hard time trying to get them to listen to our beliefs and all this kind of stuff. And then we have gas mines, oil mines, and that, and you've got this fracking. Now, when I first heard of that name, frack free, I said to the people in the meeting, I said, I don't agree with that name because you're saying frack free, you can do it. And I said it should be like stopping fracking. But I've got DVDs on that, and the best way to explain that is for people to get a DVD and listen to it. Because the one I've got at home, after all the farmers and that talk about what happened to their farm, and even in America, this guy stands there afterwards, and he'll run through the whole thing, and then he'll say, now, this is all the stuff they don't tell you about. And like the 100 tonnes of chemicals that they put down the holes. And the millions and millions of litres of water per hole they use. And you can go to where these blokes are, and it's not even near a well. This farmer went over and lit his, like a little lake thing. He went and lit it, it just caught on fire. And he said, so if there's nothing wrong with it, why is water catching on fire? And apparently, someone looked it up and said, we've got 100 years supply of gas in Dongra. So I don't know why we're looking for gas in WA. And out on Dundarigan here, we've got a wind farm. You've got 48 turbines out there which can run 50,000 houses. And then I was involved in doing monitoring work for the solar farm, which is 75,000 panels. And those panels follow the sun from the east to the west. Now, to me, that's the way we should be going. And for our people, that's the way we'd like it too, because they're not disturbing the ground or anything like that. For those solar panels, those steel blood lamps are just pushed into the ground. And where the turbines are, I mean, the farmers can crop right up to them, the sheep and cattle can lean on them and don't disturb them. So we got apparently a few more of those solar farms coming up, which we'll be going out involved with. But to me, with people, that's the way I'd like to see people talk about getting rid of gas and going on these solar farms and wind farms and that.